This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 7th of September 2021, and I am 2J.
I am JM.
And I am Miss K. Again, in case you missed today's headlines, here they are. Daily Nation, Uhuru's allies take on Ruto over riches. The Standard, Tuju puts Ruto on KRA's radar, quite like that one. The Star, Kenyatta troops to Ruto. How did you make billions? And finally, People Daily, stop blackmail. Tuju tells Ruto.
Oh wow, tough day for Ruto in the headlines, no?
Tough day. All the headlines today are focused on the Lipa Ushuru challenge issued by Raphael Tuju yesterday, Jubilee Secretary General Raphael Tuju to the Deputy President. So bearing in mind Tuju's challenge and all the events that have taken place in the past month or so, I can't help but ask one question. Who is lying? I ask this question because we've been treated to a series of contradicting statements from politicians, bankers and foreign governments, and they all seem to be surrounding the mystery that is the hustler-in-chief, William Ruto, and his wealth.
Yes.
The DP claimed that he facilitated on the phone a 15 billion shilling loan from Equity Bank for an investor. Equity Bank Director of Legal Affairs said that that did not happen. In fact, it could not happen.
Yeah.
Apparently, Equity Bank's Uganda subsidiary can only give a maximum loan of 2.3 billion shillings. Who is lying? The DP claimed that the GSU officers assigned to securitize his residence had been withdrawn. But Matiang'i told us, it actually told Parliament, that the DP is guarded by 257 officers who are stationed at his current residence, his two homes in Sugoi and Eldoret, and at his private investments. Who is lying? Just before 2013, the DP claimed that he owned only 100 measly acres of land, which he bought with his own money. But last week, again, Matiang'i revealed that the DP owns 18,520 acres spread across 3 counties, 5 helicopters, 2 hangars, 2 hotels with a bed capacity of 219, 3 private residences, a gas company, and a chicken farm. Who is lying? So Pamela Maya, author of the book Lie Spotting, says that lying is a cooperative act. A lie has no power whatsoever, but it's mere utterance. Its power emerges when someone agrees to believe the lie. So if we're being lied to as a Kenyan public, it's because we've agreed to get lied to. My advice to us collectively, do not be a participant, a willing participant to a mass deception. Spot the lies.
Spot the lies. Wonderful.
And maybe the problem that we find ourselves in is that we are asking logical questions to an illogical audience. When Miss K asked the question, who is lying?
Lying, yes.
We know the answer, name withheld. But it comes down to the age-old adage of the wolf in sheep's clothing. And this phrase of biblical origin speaks to those who are playing a role that is contrary to their real character. And contact with them is dangerous and predatory. So if today we are faced with a dynasty in hustlers' clothing, why doesn't this seem to bother the hustler nation? They will never make 1.5 million shillings a day selling eggs, own 400,000 Safaricom shares, or enjoy the luxury of owning 5 helicopters. But this questionable life of William Ruto has surprisingly become aspirational. And so I ask, has the hustler nation been bewitched? And in politics, bewitchment actually goes by another name, charisma. And charisma is described as having a gift that allows you to impact how people behave. It is having the power to hypnotize people to do your will. And in history, one figure really stands out, and he is a Fort-Hall case study by the name of Grigory Rasputin. So Rasputin was a Russian peasant who worked his way into the hearts and minds of Russia's royal family and also into the hearts and minds of the masses. He used religious passion and irresistible charisma to get noticed by the entire country. Sound familiar? But history also tells us that Rasputin was a charlatan. He was a con man, and he was a womanizer. Sound familiar? His brilliance was in telling people just what they wanted to hear, regardless of the truth. And yet, Rasputin's charm also became the source of his downfall. His charisma distracted the Russian royal family, which ultimately led to his death and also to theirs. Like the hustler nation, the royal family could not, would not, and did not believe the truth. They instead believed the image that Rasputin had implanted in their heads, that he was a healer and a savior. So what is my point here? The hustler nation is under a spell. And until they are cured of that bewitchment, our own Kenyan Rasputin will continue to hypnotize them. And if we go off history, this is not going to end well.
No.
It won't. It won't. The other day, the deputy president told us that he will form an alliance with the people rather than the leaders of the people, rather than the elite. This is, once again, what I call the William Ruto comedy of errors. Just downright dumb political strategy. Why? Two reasons. One, politics is about the dominant and the dominated. As Vilfredo Pareto said, history is, and always will be, a graveyard of aristocracies. In any political system, a ruling business, political, and bureaucratic elite inevitably emerges. And this is the cohort of people who control decisions made by the state. More often than not, this group usually comprises just 1% of the population of a society. And they control almost every single decision made in the country. These are the people who will make the next president take it to the bank. People like us, right?
Indeed.
The fifth estate, people like us, people like SK Macharia as well, who control, over like 60% of the airwaves. They will make the next election. It's not the people, it's not the voters, it's the media. For example, right? SK and other people in the business elite, other people in political and bureaucratic elite, they will tell Kenyans who to vote for.
Yeah.
Number two, to quote Professor Mutai Nguni, who tweeted on this today, Vladimir Lenin compared lumpens, in brackets, hustlers, to a pendulum. They swing sides and are incorrigibly unreliable. To form a political alliance with them is nothing but a stupid work of political invention. William Ruto is a believer, it would appear, in participatory democracy, or so he would have us believe.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But participatory democracy, as enshrined even in this Constitution of Kenya 2010, is sheer political nonsense. Here's a case in point. Athens, 12th century BC. Participatory democracy, as history has recorded, has led to some fairly idiotic decisions. According to history, as far as Athenian democracy is concerned, in the civil service were occupied by people who had no experience with statesmanship and prevented the rise of a proper civil service. Why? Because you've consulted too many people. B, legislature. Direct democracy in Athens led to disastrous choices being made by ignorant mobs, often riled up by ambitious demagogues, people who were called populists like William Ruto. Their decisions led to spectacular military defeats.
Yeah.
C, military. As far as military is concerned, in ancient Athens, politicians and generals were the same thing. Can you imagine having somebody like Waitito Sonko as a general? And generals were elected by popular vote. That meant none of the Athenian generals had any experience with warfare, resulting obviously in disastrous defeats. Finally, a case even such as we've had in Kenya, judiciary. The democratic nature of the judiciary in ancient Athens meant that cooler heads never prevailed. People with sober minds never prevailed. And there are examples of some spectacular, stupid sentences and decisions being handed down.
Yeah.
So what's the take home here as far as this William Ruto philosophy of participatory democracy is concerned, and as far as siding with the people, making an alliance with the people is concerned? Down with William Ruto, down with his populism, and down with his mediocrity.
Yep.
Popular participatory democracy welcomed Jesus on Palm Sunday and crucified him on Good Friday. It is what it is.
That is that swinging of the pendulum. Right?
Yes.
Yep.
They didn't even know what they want. When Pilate asked them, do you want this man? He's done nothing. They're like, give us Barabbas. They really didn't know what they wanted. Anyway, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines for you. We ask ourselves 3 questions. Is the headline topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking, and thoughtful or just plain lazy? Uhuru's allies take on Ruto over riches. Tuju puts Ruto on KRA's radar. Uhuru's troops to Ruto. How did you make billions? And stop blackmail. Tuju tells Ruto.
I think they're all good headlines, but I think the one that I enjoyed the most was the Star.
I'm
Uh-huh.
partial
With
to
that very pointed question.
How did
How did you make your
those
billions?
I couldn't agree more.
We all want to know.
To the hustler in chief, please explain to us. Maybe it's the path. No, it's not. And we have a winning headline from the Star. Onto the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. We again have a 3-part criteria we use to judge them for you. Are they humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, and effective or just plain lazy? I think we'll begin with the Daily Nation and the Star.
Yes, and they're quite similar cartoons. In the Daily Nation, we have 4 generals who have seemed to have caught the coup flu, a West African variant. So we have Guinea, a general there with a red cap sneezing, on Chad, who's also blowing his nose, next to Niger, who's also blowing his nose, and Mali as well, trying to avoid that flu. And I think the context here is that, as they're calling it, the African variant of coups attempted or successful that have happened across the West African spaces, right? So we have
That's
Guinea,
right.
the most recent happening on Sunday, right?
Yeah, and that's what you've got in this cartoon of the Star. Regional cooperation. Cooperation. So you've got army boots marching in formation. You've got Guinea at the back, which has got onto the strapped president of the country, Guinea, and behind that is in front of it rather, is the Mali boot, which has just is showing the coup that took place in Mali not too long ago.
Yeah, and that is the thing about coups, once...
Coups beget coups.
Yeah, exactly. They
It's
beget
like a
coups,
domino
beget coups.
Yes,
effect. You just knock it off onto each other.
Domino effect as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck, West Africa.
I know. Oh gosh. And please, let's pray that this variant stays right there.
In West Africa.
In West Africa. As we head into our perennial electoral cycle, People Daily has a cartoon of Wanjiku, the proverbial Wanjiku, running round in circles around a ballot box, and on
Fire.
there's fire, and it says violence. And she says, I find myself on the same spot every 5 years. Really, Wanjiku,
Accurate.
it is not a good thing that you recognize this and you do nothing about it. BBI could have stopped us from this. I mean, in the last election cycle, we lost 1 billion shillings every working hour, 1 trillion over 120 days, and we had a judiciary that's just decided, for the heck of it, let's do this again.
Yeah. No, and I think it is a good cartoon, and they've missed exactly what you said, Miss Kay, the fact that we're losing money due to elections, and also we're losing almost thousands of lives every electoral cycle. Is it worth it for a silly seat called the presidency?
Most certainly not.
Yeah.
It is not worth it. Just divorce ourselves from it, make it just musical chairs, and we move on with life. What do you think is our winning cartoon today?
I quite like the coup flu.
Yeah.
But
I also
yeah.
like the ballot box one.
Yeah, I do like the ballot box one as well. Yeah.
I like the ballot box one, but this is a reality that we have that should be addressed. So I think I'm going to go with coup flu.
Yeah, a play on Corona and the coups. It's funny. Yeah.
It is a little
Coup
funny.
flu, yeah.
Coup flu it is. We have a winning cartoon from the Star. So it's a double win. We have a winning headline from the Star and a winning cartoon from the Star as well. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find us on your TV screens. We're on Pang TV, Go TV, Pang Free to Air, and Star Times. Pang TV, I just renamed them. I'll leave you with a quote from Peter Drucker, the father of management, on charismatic leaders. Charisma becomes the undoing of leaders. It makes them inflexible, convinced of their own infallibility, unable to change. Do have a great evening as you contemplate how not to be lied to.